All right, so this is part 2 of the interview series. There might be one more part after this, but like I said in part 1, a lot of these are my friends from BMT. We went through a lot of the stuff together, and it was me just being curious about why they joined the military in general, or why they joined the Air Force, or what their life was before the military, and just like their mentality going into BMT and things like that. If you're enjoying the series, I know they're long, but if you guys are curious, I'll try to put as many time codes or timestamps in the description down below, and then you guys can follow my socials and follow my shenanigans and whatnot. If they want to, I'll put these guys' socials in the description box down below so you can follow them, or if you plan on joining the military, or if you have specific questions for each individual person, feel free. If they don't want their socials in the description, then just either comment on the video or shoot me an email or something, and then or send me a DM on like Instagram or something like that, and then I can get your response that way. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoy. What's going on, guys? James for Cloud Gaming. It's been a while since I made a video for you guys. The last video I made was before BMT, and then I didn't have any electronics and stuff. So now I have most of my camera setup available. And in part 1 of this series, you guys interviewed Graith, Deverell, and another Perez, Efren. This is our actually other Perez from our dorm. A lot of these guys that I've been interviewing have been from our flight back at BMT. So we've all trauma bonded. We've all went through that whole process from BMT, then now transferring and transitioning into tech school. And we're probably about a month in or so. But yeah, I'm here with Stephen Perez. Yeah, tell me just a little about yourself before I ask you some questions.
Okay.
Where you're from, age if you feel like it, what your rank is, and what do you do pretty much here in tech school currently?
All right. So my name is Stephen Perez, the other Perez. I am 30 years old from California, kind of like James here. And my job here is POL. So that's petroleum oils and lubricants. You'll look it up online and you'll probably see that all we do is drive trucks. It's not necessarily true, but that is a big part of our job, especially starting out. I'm going in as an Airman First Class, so an E3, because I have a degree. So
nice, perfect. Just like the previous interview in part 1, I'm going to be asking them similar questions, him and McFarland. McFarland's behind the camera. I might ask McFarland different questions as well, just to spice it up a little bit, but we'll see. But yeah, let's get into it. Question 1, did you grow up wanting or dreaming of being part of the military? If not, what changed and why the Air Force?
Yes, actually. But when I was a kid, I wanted to fly planes.
Okay.
And then as I was getting older through school, I kind of like forgot about the military. And then when I went to college, I met up with a lot of guys in ROTC. Mm-hmm. They became my friends. And for a while there, I thought about joining ROTC. But I let that opportunity pass me by as well. And then actually a couple years after college, I was in a spot in my life where I felt I wasn't progressing. So I had thought about going to the Navy. And I actually went to the mall to go to a recruiter's office that was there, but it wasn't there anymore. So I just gave up again on it. And then as I went back out in civilian life, again, my life hadn't felt like it was progressing at all, but I did get married to my best friend, and we had a daughter. We have a daughter now. And when I had my daughter, and when I was deciding what to do next, I just felt like I really, really wanted to do better for them. And so a family friend of hers called her one day, and he said, "Why doesn't he go to the Air Force?" And so it was funny because I had been thinking about it since I had gotten married. I'm like, dang, we're in this spot right now where I want to do better. We're not really moving forward. I'm trying to figure this all out. I had been thinking about going to the military for a while, but I knew how she was going to react.
Yeah.
So I kind of just I don't want to really bring that up right now. So I'm just going to keep that down and we're just going to figure this out. So when he called and he said, "Why doesn't he go to the military?" I was like, maybe this is the sign right now. So at first my wife was apprehensive. She didn't really understand how the military worked. She thought that it was all the same thing. But once she found out about the differentiation branches, and then I was like, yeah, Air Force. And then she started warming up to it, hit up a recruiter, and then less than 4 months later, I'm in BMT.
Damn. On to question 2. When you made your decision for the Air Force, did you do any research? Did you watch any videos? Did you read any articles to prepare yourself for like BMT? And as you experienced BMT yourself, did those articles or videos depict BMT as you thought it was? Or as you experienced it yourself, did you pretty much just throw away those videos and articles that you read and just wanted to experience it yourself?
That's a really good question, because I'm at this point in life now where I'm learning that you can't possibly control everything that happens to you. You can only control the way you react to those things, right?
Yeah.
So for me, when I decided that, okay, I'm going to the Air Force, I actually didn't do a whole lot of research.
Oh, really?
I really
jumped
didn't.
straight into it,
I
pretty
did,
much.
because my number one priority and goal at that point in time was just, we're in a situation now where time is of the essence.
Yeah.
I don't have a lot of time to think. I don't really want to be waiting off anymore. I'm going to be 30 next year. And that's why when I had been thinking about commissioning in July of last year, I kind of gave up on it, because when I did do a little research on that, and the initial email they sent me, they said, we might not be able to interview till May of next year. I'm like, wow. I don't have that time. So yeah, when I went to my recruiters, I just said, let's get a depth date lined up, or MEPS date lined up, so I can go get the physical and all that. And then after I got passed on MEPS, and I was in the delayed entry program, he gave me a short list of jobs that were shipping out like right away. And so it was literally like maybe 13 jobs, but like 5 of them were security forces. Wow. And my wife basically drew her line. She's like, you're not doing that.
From this bottom line down.
Exactly, you're not doing that. And then I also didn't really want to do anything in a plane.
Like nothing avionics-wise.
Exactly.
Like that.
I wanted to just really have that work-life balance, because my family is like my number one priority. And we also want to expand our family. And so after I cut out the flight jobs and after I cut out security forces, I looked at whatever jobs were left, and I looked at and I saw fuels. And I was like, okay, well, what's that? And so I went on to Forever Wingman. That's a really good resource for you out there if you really want to have an idea of jobs. I went on Forever Wingman. I looked at the fuels job, and I'm like, you know what? This seems like good for me where I'm at in my life right now. And so I kind of just had my mind focused on fuels. And so, yeah, I'm going to do fuels. I put a top 5. They gave me a long list because I actually qualified for a lot of things. But I played a game. I was like, I know, because I did, in my little bit of research I did on Reddit, I saw that if you go open X, open anything, you might not even get in that, or they might do what almost happened to Morton, security forces.
Exactly, yeah.
And I was like, I'm going to just play this where at least it might not be my ideal job, but I know what I'm getting out of it. So I put fuels like towards the top. And so lo and behold, it got booked for me. And I shipped out on January 9th with you guys.
And that's good too. Even if you choose fuels, I said this for the other guys too. When you choose your AFSC and you're in tech school, since it's your first term or like your first 4-year enlistment, towards the end of your 2.5 or 3 years before your contract ends, you can choose to either reclass or retrain into another AFSC. So as your career grows in your first term and you get to your first assignment and you meet all these other people and you start networking on different bases and you start talking to these different people in different AFSCs, if you really liked a different AFSC and your time comes up to, if you're eligible to retrain or reclass a different AFSC, then you have that option too if you wanted to. So if you loved fuels for like the first 3 years, but you met somebody else in like avionics or mechanics or something like that, or maybe an IT or cyber job, and you're like, damn, that's pretty cool. Let me see if I can do that. Once you're like 2.5 or your 3-year mark, you'll usually get like an email or something like that. And then there's like, oh, you're eligible to retrain if you'd like. And then they'll give you like a list of AFSCs that are available that you can cross-train into. So it's okay if you don't get your good AFSC or the one that you want initially, but you always have that option. The Air Force will give you a lot of opportunities, especially if you're talking to a lot of people and you're just building your Air Force portfolio, your Air Force resume, just to look a better part than everyone else, so that if you really wanted to go to a different route or a different AFSC, then you have that ability to do so.
Just to like build off on that a little bit, some advice that was given to us in BMT was, if you want if that's something you want to do, if like say you didn't get the job you wanted, a really good piece of advice is you got to do good in the job that you get selected for regardless. Our first sergeant at BMT told us about people who want to commission like after a year, right? And she says that she was honest with us. She's like, I think those people are crazy, because how can you tell me you want to do a job you know nothing about and you're not even doing the job you're doing already?
Exactly.
So just a good mindset going forward when you guys go to BMT is have 100% attitude and drop the complaining.
Yeah.
It's the military.
But yeah, we've touched base on family, and actually that rolls into our next question. Since you're married and you're building your family into this different lifestyle, what is the hardest thing currently you and your wife face? It could be something in the past. I know you discussed it when you initially brought it up to her about the military. She didn't really understand it. But as you told her the different military structures and the different branches, she kind of warmed up to it. But going through BMT, was that like the longest you guys ever been away from each other, like not communicating, or was that something you guys were already used to?
Right.
And then going into from not being there, of course, in California, and then here in Texas for like the next almost half a year for us.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what is the current?
Definitely the former, because before BMT, the longest I had been, my wife moved in with me as my girlfriend back at the end of 2019. And so after we started dating, I actually got sent to Texas. I got sent to Houston for my job, but she was going through stuff with her family and tough patch.
Yeah.
So I ended my trip early and I came back. So I was gone for like I think 5 weeks. Okay. But after that, we were inseparable. Like we worked at the same place. When we left that job, we went to a new job at the same place. And we were still, at that point, she was still just my girlfriend, but after we had worked at that new job a year, I had proposed to her, so she's now my fiance. So basically for the past, thank you. So for the past almost 4.5 years, we were together 24/7. So you really know if your relationship's gonna work out if you're seeing that person every single day.
Yep.
So it was definitely, I'm gonna just be honest, it was harder for her. Because I don't need to get into everything why that is, but we were each other's people. We were each other's support systems when we felt like we didn't have really anyone else in our life. I was so used to just leaving people. Independent.
Yeah.
I did that a lot through my teenage years, through Boy Scouts. So me going away for 7.5 weeks was the longest I've ever been away from any kind of support system, my family. But to me, it was no different. I just saw it as like a really extended job interview. And so it was hard at the beginning for me. It was harder than I thought it was going to be at the beginning. But after that first church service, it felt fine. And then I knew that it was going to be good for my wife too, because I know what happens when you're in a relationship and we had a momentary separation. We knew it wasn't permanent, but I had been in a long distance relationship before. So I know what distance does for a person when they're in that quiet space. It helps them reframe their thinking when you don't have that constant support there. And so it helped her become a better person. She's actually grateful that I went to BMT because she feels it made her a stronger wife and mom. And for me, it really focused my whys.
Yeah.
Because in the past, my other relationships, I was like, I wanted to be single.
Yeah.
At some point. And then after I was single, I'm like, oh, I want to be with someone. And then I'm just going back and forth, right? But when I was at BMT, I'm like, nope, I want to be a dad. Yeah. I want to be a husband. I'm here for a reason. I want to provide for my family. And it really focused my thoughts.
Okay.
Because I was no longer just Steven the dad and husband, I was now Steven the airman. Yeah. So what does that look like for me as an independent individual? So now that I'm here at tech school, it's a lot easier because I have my phone. So when I'm not in class, when I'm not hanging out with you guys at the DFAC or just going to the BX or just something like this, I'm on the phone with my wife. I'm a homebody. I'm really quiet. I'm really introverted. So yeah, I'm happy. Yeah. This is a really good thing, and my wife and I are excited for the next step.
That's cool. Yeah, being a role model for your family and seeing how this next step in your career grows is really, really nice. Now that we're about a month into tech school, what advice would you give people going into MEPS or about going into BMT?
Okay. So, of course, this is a good question to ask multiple people because everyone's going to have a different perspective. Number one, I actually put this on my exit survey at BMT. Do not take PT like a joke. When I was watching those videos, oh, this was the other half of that first question you had asked.
Yeah.
The videos, there was a 8-part series on YouTube about Air Force BMT. It really did not show the physical aspect like it should have.
Yeah.
Not like they show you that you're doing PT every day in those videos, but what they're not showing, they say it, but you don't really get a feel for it. You are literally marching everywhere and running everywhere. So Colosso saw it happen to me.
Yeah.
I was on crutches for a couple days at BMT. Nothing serious, I didn't break anything, but the extra running up the stairs like 4 or 5 times a day.
To and from the dorms.
To and from the dorms.
To and from classes.
And then PT, it was just stressful on my knees. Like the athletic trainer there, she asked me some questions and she determined that what I had wasn't serious, but she basically described to me what was happening. I actually realized that I have a tendency to lock my knees even when I'm not at attention. Yeah, because I think it happened because I always was shorter than most people. So to make myself taller, I would like lock my knees.
Oh, okay.
And so it was like after she told me like you're not getting enough blood flow to your knees, that's why there's so much tension right here.
Yeah.
I was like, I would notice when I would like slightly bend my knees, even when we were in the line for food, I was like, damn, I lock my knees all the time. So I started like started reworking the way that I stand in just normal everyday life.
Yeah.
But aside from just my story, the amount of people that just could not handle PT, it was insane. So what I recommend for you guys, if you're doing literally nothing right now, you got to do something. I really recommend you're going to get better at push-ups. You're going to get better at sit-ups. All that stuff you're going to get better in. But the number one thing that I saw people struggle with, but would also help you for things outside of normal PT, take a run.
Yeah, all the
You
cardio.
have to run. That cardio will help you increase your stamina, increase your breath. Breathing is very important. But not only that, just get you to how much walking you're going to be doing all the time at BMT.
Yeah.
So that's preparation for BMT. Preparation for MEPS, I think honestly, so you could just read in any news article, the military is having a hard time recruiting people. I think you'd have to have a really shady past or just be completely out of shape to not pass MEPS these days.
Or some like medical
yeah,
waivers and stuff that you might have to go through, or disqualifications.
Yeah, so because like I'm just like I was in and out of the MEPS and DEP situation within 4 months. You know, the whole time I was always thinking like what could go wrong, but nothing ever happened. I mean, the worst that I got was that the doctor who checked me out was like, "You're 30, you sure you want to do this?" kind of thing. But you know, I was like, "Yeah, I know what I want to do." Other preparation for BMT, you don't really actually have to think about it a whole lot. Like my recruiter said, you can literally just go there with the clothes on your back and nothing else.
Yeah.
And after having been there, I think that's absolutely true, because I saw like a lot of advice on Reddit be like, "Oh yeah, just bring 7 pairs of underwear and 7 pairs of socks, you'll be fine." No, I didn't wear any of the underwear I brought, so that was just wasted space in my civilian luggage. So literally the less that you bring to BMT, the easier it's gonna be in terms of just like transitioning from all. The biggest advice I can give you, and this is advice that I would talk about with guys back at BMT, because I've been through college. So I know the pitfalls, I know the stuff that you can get up to there. Like, you gotta remember, you're gonna have a lot more freedom in tech school, but you're still in the military. And not only are you in the military, it's like college, but this is your job now. And I'm just gonna repeat something that I heard from one of the colonels, was that he's seen people get ELS'd, early leave separation, or entry-level separation for drinking because they were underage or because they provided alcohol to minors. When they're headed out the door, a lot of those airmen would say, "Sir, if I had the chance to redo this over, I would do it differently. I wouldn't have done that dumb mistake, because this is such a stupid mistake." It's not hard. It's the military, but When I say it's not hard, I mean it's literally as simple as the 3 things that our MTI said when we got to our squadron. Follow orders, listen to instructions, and sound off.
Yep.
It's not hard, but you'd be surprised at how many people struggle with it.
Yeah. Thank you, Steven, for your time.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for answering the questions. This is McFarland, Airman, basic McFarland. I can say that this guy is probably like one of my best friends here in BMT and tech school, going through BMT and going to tech school amongst all the other guys that you guys seen in the previous videos and in this video. We're in the same AFSC, cable antennas. This guy is a character. Every day I wake up and I go to class, I don't know what I'm gonna get. Even waking up and going to the DFAC for breakfast, I don't know what I'm gonna get. I don't know what side of McFarland I'm gonna get. But he makes the day pretty much a lot better for me, for sure, and helps me get through the day. But yeah, tell me about yourself a little bit, where you're from, how old are you, and then we'll get into the question.
Hi, I'm McFarland. That's all you need to know about me. I'm 22 years old. I was born and raised in Oklahoma. I've lived there my whole life. Yeah, I know it's rough. I am not married, planning on it. Yet. I never really saw myself joining the military. That was a thing, though, that had stayed on my mind for a bit. My grandfather was in Vietnam. My father was in Saudi Arabia. And I'm just the third in a family, I guess.
To join the forces?
Yeah, and all Air Force, because we are the best force.
But why the Air Force? Was there, when you're going to the recruiting station, did you think about doing other branches, or were you just like, no, I think the Air Force or Space Force is probably gonna be the one?
Well, originally when I first jumped on the idea of it, it was for like the Coast Guard, because they were doing it. They were like coming through the high school and they were like, oh, look, join the, help the country. And I was like, this looks cool. And me and my dad talked about it. He was like, sure. And then we went and he was like, oh no, you're gonna do the Air Force. It's the smartest choice to make. It's one of the safest choices to make, and they usually have really good jobs you can take into civilian life. So if you decide you hate everything about it.
When you were making your decision for the Air Force, did you watch any videos? Did you prepare yourself physically, mentally? And then from those videos and articles that you read or watched, did that change your mentality as you experienced it yourself?
I kind of went in with some knowledge of it. My dad said it's not gonna be as hard as you think it is. It's just mind over matter. There were really hard to find videos of like Air Force BMT. We saw a lot of like Army ones, and that was intense to watch as it was, because they're crazy. Coming into BMT, it wasn't a big change. It was different. It was a different change of scenery, of pace. I wasn't sure what to expect. A lot of yelling, a lot of learning what to do right and what not to do ever. Got yelled at for a lot of crazy things. It was about what I expected.
Yeah.
About maybe a little tougher than what I thought, but you know, it's something I needed in life. It taught me a good sense of discipline, and from what I've been told, it gave me a new set of confidence in myself, which I guess I can kind of see looking at it now. So
going through it, what would you think was your hardest part of BMT?
My hardest part of BMT? Bearing and discipline. Absolutely.
The B&D checks.
Oh my! I only ever had one of those, and
lucky.
Almost.
I think I've had like 3 or 4 B&D checks.
Yeah, you probably did better. He was like, all right, take out all the items out of your pocket. I had like fingernail clippers. I had just trash. I had a handful like this, and when the sergeant came by, I was the last one in the row, and everybody just looked at me, looked down, and I could feel their eyes go. I could never get it right. I just don't have the ability to keep a Serious face.
You and what's his name?
Wilkinson.
One of the leadership roles that you had, or one of the roles that you had within our flight, was EC monitor. How was that? Were you did you volunteer, or were you voluntold, and how did that go moving forward from when you were chosen?
So originally we had someone else doing it when we were at the 321st?
323rd?
323rd?
I think so.
Someone else was doing it, and then when we went over to the 331st, we had those later weeks come in to show us some of the ropes, and I happened to be on that first EC shift with their EC monitor, and he said, "Oh, do it, it's the best. I have it set up so everybody works an EC night shift at least once a week. It's awesome."
Complete boot.
It was the most bullshit I've ever learned, because it was a lot more responsibility than I thought, because you have to then move around with other people's schedules, other people's roles, religions, activities of the day. You had to plan everything out, which wouldn't have been horrible if people wouldn't argue about it, and then I would have like 20 people in a week be like, "This is horrible, I don't want to do it." I don't know anyone who wants to stand at a desk for 2 hours, do absolutely nothing, but you know, that's what we had to do. I volunteered to do it because I was told it was easy, and because I had been a manager at one of my previous jobs. I managed people, I helped make schedules. This was nothing like that, because usually I was in a position higher than them, and they couldn't argue with it. Everybody argued with it. They hated it. But you were often on EC.
I was.
You were like EC champion.
It was like our side of the room in our dorm probably had. I felt like we had like the most.
Y'all
EC
had
shifts.
the most, because everyone on the opposite side would just
argue.
They'd bitch.
And then we would just trade with each other pretty much, and we were pretty chill with it. What is your plan for the Air Force? Are you thinking to do long term, or career-wise, or temporary? I know me and you discussed it in class that you plan on figuring out these 4 years, and then you might jump off and work with your dad a little bit on towers and antennas and whatnot. So where do you think you are now, since we're probably a month into tech school? And
I'm enjoying tech school, like everything we've done so far. I'm enjoying. I might be the slowest in telecom in our block, but I don't hate it. I've gotten much better than when I first started, because I was slow on those polls.
This dude got some pretty good numbers now. Yeah.
But I'm still in that I might just do it for 4 span, because I've yet to actually go operational.
Yeah.
I think it'll change once I'm in. It might change, it might stay, but
We talked about a little bit of family. You might be getting married. When you brought it up to your girlfriend and future fiance or so about the military, how did she feel about it? And then going through BMT and now into tech school, what are some of the hardships that you guys currently face?
she hated the idea.
Yeah.
She was very against it. Not like the government, all that, but just like the being away, the no communication but letters. That was hard on both of us, because we've almost been together 3 years. We lived together for an entire year. So we were used to being with each other at all times. If she wasn't at her parents' or I wasn't at mine, we were at home just next to each other. So it went from we could see each other 24/7 with no issue, no restriction, to I have to talk to you every 2 weeks now. So it was challenging in that, because we hadn't like talked about like what it could give us, what it could do for us. We just knew it would be difficult to live apart. And it was, but getting to graduation and seeing her, it felt worth it, because I mean, everyone who I come from, they were very proud of the decision I'd made. From what they've said, they saw the little blonde menace that I was growing into an admirable man.
You're still a blonde menace here.
You know it.
Yeah.
That's never gonna change. Let's be honest. It's gotten easier, especially now that I can like text her whenever, and then once I phase up, I'll be able to drive home and see her. So it's gonna be nice in that regard. But it's still difficult because it's just still far apart.
Yeah.
Still get that homesick feeling.
Air Force, where do you think you'd be? Did you have a backup? I know you had your dad's company that you could have joined or worked for, but if you were going through BMT and you had either something physical or mental that got you ELS'd or got you taken out of BMT, you think you'd have a backup to fall back upon, or would you try getting a waiver to rejoin the forces either in a different branch or try the Air Force again?
So before the Air Force, I worked at a cardboard corrugation place. I did that 50 hours a week.
Yikes.
And my girlfriend was also working like 10-hour shifts. So it was a lot of, I was never at home. We never saw each other. I'd get home, it'd be time for dinner, and then we'd go to bed because that's how conflicting our schedules were. It was very hard to get jobs in Oklahoma. There's just nowhere's hiring for good pay. Everything that is hiring at a better pay, you need like a degree in or you need experience in. But to get experience, you need to have a job. But to have a job, you need experience. Yeah. It's all a terrible cycle. This was probably one of my biggest backups. If the corrugation hadn't worked out, I don't know where I would have gone. I probably would have had to get some job at like a grocery store like I worked previously.
Temporarily to figure out your next steps pretty much.
It was pretty much my backup plan for everything. It was my last resort plan because it was something I'd thought about before. It was something I had considered. I just hadn't taken the leap because I was young. I wanted to see what else I could do in life, kind of what you had done. So I wanted to experience things for myself.
Would you relocate if there was like outside of Oklahoma, if there was another job available, if it like opportunity wise was like, hey, we have this opening and you seem to fit the bill for experience or whatever, would you still push back the Air Force or would you try taking up like another civilian job or something like that?
I think if it had been outside, I wouldn't have taken it because I was close. I was like a mile and a half away from home.
Okay.
I lived with my girlfriend. Everything was right where I had it. I don't know if I would have left Oklahoma for that. Maybe like if it was like an hour drive in the morning, I had to do that, sure. But outside of the state, probably not, no.
Have you ever been like outside of the states, like overseas and stuff before? Or we'll go later into the assignment, but I just want to see what your travel has been.
Cruise
Many
many years ago to like Cozumel.
Okay.
But never like further than that.
Okay.
Still like connected to the states in a whole, but never nowhere like South America or anything crazy like that.
Yeah, with McFarland, this is going to be his first time like super far away from home and disconnected from family for quite a bit until he gets the ball rolling and operational. So what is your feelings going into that, knowing where you're going to be going, and then as the days count down towards graduation from tech school, are the nerves a little bit on the high side, or tensing up a little bit, and you think you'll be able to like mentally handle that being away either for like a year or even longer than that?
I think thinking about it, which I've not done much of, I usually don't think. I just
yourself from it pretty much.
Very freely. I think it's going to be a very big shock to me. I did BMT. That was 2 months. That wasn't the worst. It was hard, but I think it's going to be challenging at first, at least those like first couple of months being there, because it's very new.
It's a whole
very
different
big
culture.
Culture shock. It's going to be something that's going to take some learning, but I think I will get past that like nervousness, and eventually it'll be, this is my new home. I should make the most out of it.
Yeah.
Let's see what it offers and what I can do for it.
Makes sense.
It's not the best I can think of right now. It might be the easiest thing when I get there. It might be, this is awesome. It's never something I've done before, but I'm excited to do whatever I can here, or it'll be, oh my God, I want to go back home. This is horrible. Oh my God. It'll be one of those two. That's all I know.
Yeah.
You also be mindful, whatever you take to BMT, you're gonna have to take with your OCPs, your blues, everything else they give you. It's a lot of stuff. Don't overpack like I did. I was like, oh, okay, I'll need clothes for an extra amount of time. And then I had all of my bags were full to the brim. I could not close things. I had to give away clothes.
Me and McFarland will be here till probably middle of this year, a little bit past middle of this year. So you'll probably see him in a couple more videos as we go by. But thank you, McFarland, for your time and the interview. I'm gonna hate editing this video, listening it over and over and over and over again. But yeah.
Were you expecting us to get monetized?
Probably not this video.
No, not this video. No.
No, probably not this video.
You're welcome.
But yeah, thank you. Yeah, you guys will probably see him a lot more.
Hell yeah.
Later, guys.